What you watching?
Welcome back from the break. I'm your host, Logan, of Mostly Superheroes, here with PC Mike, the Giggler, and Anthony from the Jock and Nerd podcast. We just broke down some a roundtable on Memento. Hope you enjoyed that. And now, of course, it's not quite the meat yet. We're going to get there, but still taking over the entire episode right now, or the show, I should say, is the MCU. And WandaVision, man, oh man, what a show. We are talking about it every single week. And with that, I've just been inclined naturally to watch the old stuff, to bring it back to the forefront, have some good recaps. And we're actually working on something really exciting on our website that once we kind of get all these done, we've already got about probably a third or a half. We're getting to about the halfway point of getting all these done. We're going to have a whole page solely for the MCU. So it'll be like in release order, which Anthony, I don't know if you have an opinion on this, but I think release order is the way to go typically for even Star Wars. I think that you need to watch these things in the frame of mind that when they came out, when they were written, the years that they were produced. If you're watching now, if you've seen it a lot and you want to revisit the MCU, maybe you're like, okay, I'll watch Captain Marvel first and then I'll watch them in chronological. But typically we do it in release order around here. What do you think, Anthony? Do you ever have an opinion on that? Because you guys talk about MCU heavy on Jock and Nerd. Has this been a debate you guys have had?
It's not necessarily something we've talked about a lot, but as I've had an opinion on it, and I agree with you, Logan. Release order is the way to go. You have to watch these in the mindset of what these creators were doing at that time, because they might have had ideas for things down the road that could have been prequels, but the puzzles fit a certain way in release order, and they fit that way because it was released in those times, and it makes watching those other films later, I think, more enriching because these are the building blocks for some of these, even the prequels.
Hell yeah. I love when people agree with me, so that's awesome.
That's why I'm here, man. That's why you brought me here.
Yeah, just to pump me up, right? That's usually that's why you
that was the email you sent me.
Yeah, I need you to come on and really make it seem like I know what I'm talking about.
Be my Flavor Flav. Be my hype man today.
Well, with that, let's go ahead and get into our MCU rewatch for the day. Last week we talked about Iron Man 3. So in release order, next up is Thor: The Dark World. Equally controversial. This is one that we have talked about in this show as being a lower tier MCU film, just meaning when you compare it to the rest, it kind of starts falling toward the bottom. The next movie that comes in order is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. We'll be covering that next week. Man, that's exciting.
Man, I went on the wrong show.
Oh, dude, that's a movie, huh? Oh my gosh. I'm so excited.
Parts of that last night.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Talk about just a totally different movie from the first Avenger, and then, man, we're 25 days out from Falcon and Winter Soldier, so I think we're timing this pretty well. What we're going to do is we're going to do what we do every single week on the MCU Rewatch. I'm going to recap the story very quickly. I'm going to talk about just some top moments. Want to hear your guys' top moments, ratings, of course. I'll highlight the end credit scenes, and then we're going to just talk about some high-level connections of what this movie, how it could connect to other MCU projects that are happening concurrently. First up, came out in 2013, just a few months after Iron Man 3. This came out on November 8th. I think Iron Man 3 was in May. The budget was $150 million, and it made $644.8 million. Did pretty well. Not as well as Iron Man. If you guys remember, that was $1.2 billion.
Double that.
Yep, and I think the budget was $200 million. So it got a little less money. It made a whole lot less, but it still did just fine. All of these movies, I think, will. Well, I can't wait to see what. I'm curious about how Ant-Man did. I don't remember at all. So I'm excited to see these future movies that we're going to be talking about. Talked about the MCU order, the story of this one. So this movie opens up with a flashback of millennia ago, the Dark Elves. All right, these guys are they're power hungry. They're they're led by this guy called Malekith, and they're after the Ether, which is AKA the Reality Stone. All right, Odin's dad, Thor, he comes in, he knocks these guys down. Let me just say right away, when 10 minutes into this movie, I was like, this movie's awesome. Especially watching it now with all the MCU stuff, it almost felt like an MCU history story. I'm watching a documentary about the Asgardians and Thor's dad. I was like, this is cool.
Okay, before you go on, I just want to do a heat check for you.
Oh boy.
It's not because you just watched Iron Man 3 and then you watched this.
It might be, but hey, you're getting it in my organic order right now. And that's how it should be, though, because you did see Iron Man 3 right before you saw this movie.
So there's so Iron Man 3 gets $1.2 billion. People are like, hell no, I'm not giving more money to the MCU.
All I'll say is this. If you're just asking me point blank, this movie is much better than Iron Man 3. No doubt. But I will just say, it's a Thor movie through and through. And so Thor's dad ends up beating this guy. It's all fine. They come back to the future. And basically the entire plan surrounds Malekith, this dark elf. He just wants to use the reality stone to make the whole universe dark. It's kind of weird, but it's like that's the idea. There's this giant convergence happening. Remember, all of the realms are lining up over each other, and a millennia passes. This is happening again, and when this happens, Jane on Earth finds the ether because it's been awakened during this convergence coming again, and this is where Thor comes down and takes Jane back to Asgard because this is kind of a hole in the story. She gets the ether like in her body because she like touches it. I don't know if this movie ever made it clear exactly why her human body could hold on to this thing for so long, because they make it very clear in the rest of the MCU movies that humans cannot be holding Infinity Stones like this. We'll leave it up on the table for thoughts if you guys have any when we get there. Just moving real quick through here. Remember, Loki is in captivity in this movie because it's following the events of Avengers. So he's locked up on Asgard. That's pretty cool. Moving really, really quickly, they remove the ether from Jane's body. Malekith takes it. He's going to have to go to Earth, though. That was a big part of the movie where I'm like, why do they have to go to Earth? They do answer it. Apparently, there's a point on Earth that is the center of this convergence thing. So it ends up being this place in Germany, and Dr. Selvig re-enters. Darcy enters the story that we're now seeing in WandaVision. And then Darcy also has an intern in this movie. We said this. She's moving up the corporate ladder. His name's Ian in the movie, and I don't think we ever know what happens to this intern. And then they end up having like a romantic kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're making out at the end a little bit.
Maybe in WandaVision.
I'm genuinely curious what happened to this guy, because he ends up kind of being like a pretty good asset to the team. He like really helped everybody out. All right, so they end up helping Thor defeat Malekith. We learn that Loki has actually taken the throne. He's done something with Odin. It's one of the end things we get of the movie. We beat the bad guy, all is well. The mid-credit scene in this one is Thor's friends deliver the reality stone to the Collector. So we get the introduction to the Collector in this movie. And then there's an end-credit scene where Thor comes back to Earth, spends his time with Jane, and this is also what he'll be doing. He'll be hanging out on Earth for a while, setting us up for Avengers Age of Ultron. Pretty quick, right?
You put a nice little bow on it, too.
Just a nice little quick bow. Want to get into some top highlights before we rate this thing, because I want to hear like some favorite moments, thoughts of the movie. I really like the aspect of finding out more about the Nine Realms. Again, getting that history story, learning more about Odin's dad, because Odin kind of has an arc of his own throughout the whole movies. We find out in Thor Ragnarok that he has kind of this shady past. I'm excited to focus on that movie. And let's just do some roundtable thoughts. Starting off with our guest on the show, Anthony. This is another one you watched for us. Thank you very much. What are your thoughts on Thor, man?
Thor overall, or just Thor to the Dark World?
Well, let's go Thor the Dark World, and then maybe we'll get into some deeper stuff, like who your favorite Avengers are and stuff, because we love that kind of shit.
Sure. So, I'll go on record as saying that the MCU, I don't think the MCU's made one what I would consider bad film. Now they've made there's a slew of films that are down the bottom of the list and maybe just considered okay, maybe disappointments, but nothing egregious. Thor the Dark World is no one's favorite MCU film, I don't think. If it is your favorite, I'm sorry. There are better MCU films. Maybe you should watch something else. It's entertaining at points. It's not necessarily, they didn't really know what they were doing with Thor yet. They were still trying. They had Alan Taylor as a director who's from Game of Thrones. They were still trying to do the whole Game of Thrones, Norse mythology, Viking-esque vibe, and they were still trying to make that work, especially within the MCU, where it's like a lot of like jokes and things like that. And as we came to find out in Thor Ragnarok, that just wasn't Chris Hemsworth's thing. That just wasn't the vibe that this was going to launch at. That being said, it's still entertaining. The villain is pretty bleh. The main criticism you have about Thor the Dark World is you don't ever really want to revisit this movie. There's nothing about it that you want to go back and go, I love these moments. The moments that I do enjoy, I still enjoy the Loki, Chris Hemsworth, Thor banter. I thought Kat Dennings was funny. I remember back in the day, people would like be criticizing Kat Dennings' character and be like, she's pointless. I thought she was funny. Having, we're going to review WandaVision later. Bringing her back to Thor from Thor: The Dark World, I think was a great idea because she has just great timing on a lot of her jokes. The end battle is a little creative with them going through the different portals and landing on different planets and stuff. So there's some entertaining stuff. It's just overall a bland movie. So curious what you guys think.
Yeah, for sure. I have all sorts of thoughts, and I think I should probably go. I'll go last because I'm kind of the opposite of you now, Anthony. Honestly, I almost appreciated like that Game of Thrones feel. That like, you know what, this is a totally different race of people that are together, and it's a totally different mindset than like if you're an Iron Man or on Earth. And I kind of appreciated the fact that they were. It was fun to me seeing a Reality Stone story outside of the Avengers and Thanos. It was cool to see like, oh, there's this alien race that's like going after it, because for me it was like kicking off the hunt for these 6 stones. I felt that. Giggler, what were you thinking? How was your rewatch? Did you rewatch it like for a second time? Like, because you did a rewatch like a month ago.
The most recent time was a month ago for sure.
Okay.
And like, yeah, I think rewatching it now, given everything that's happened, it definitely you can feel the vibe a little bit more and appreciate it and enjoy it. But still, like, I completely agree with what Anthony said, that like there's not a bad movie in these. So that's what I'm kind of keeping in check for like my rating. But I think 100% like my favorite part was just kind of the interactions between Thor and Loki. Like, there's not a lot of times when I enjoy or am a fan of like a bad guy in a movie, but Loki's like an exception for that. He's just entertaining. I can't freaking wait for his show. I think it's going to be maybe one of the best ones of the year. We'll see.
I was going to say, this is something to keep in mind for you folks. This is where we try to, like, again, if most of the superheroes gave any service to you guys, try to help you out here. We are now in what I'm calling Loki Prime. Because, like, this guy ends up having his own life. He goes on to live in Thor Ragnarok, and spoiler alert for this character, he dies in Avengers Endgame. So, like, that's this Thor. You know, we talked about Avengers. We saw, like, that guy vanishes from that one. We're going to get that in the TV show. This is not that Loki anymore, just so everybody's clear. We're on, like, I call them Loki Prime. That's how I've coined that.
I like it.
Maybe get that hashtag going. All right, we'll save your rating for a minute. PC Mike, did you rewatch this?
I actually saw this a couple months ago.
Okay,
so
fair.
I felt good. I think it was on TV, and I was just kind of watching. I mean, it's okay. I got a lot of fanboys here, so I'm gonna bring you back down. It's okay. I'm not getting streamers and like banners for like, hey, you know what's on at TBS tonight? Thor: The Dark World. Let's go.
Right.
I mean, it was just okay.
Yep.
Favorite parts are with Natalie Portman.
She's great.
I mean, she's
Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
She's great. I got so excited to see her coming back in Thor: Love and Thunder. I think that they were probably not teasing out, but I did have some theories that I'm sure that her having this ether in her body will probably play some kind of role in that, because she's supposed to be supposedly getting the hammer. Talking about Thor in general, see if there's any other major connections I have here from my notes. Oh, we do get Lady Sith in this one. She actually is in a Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode. I don't know if you guys ever knew that, but she is. Yep. She came and guest starred on the show. Already mentioned Jane. Go ahead.
I do love the cast, though.
Yeah,
like,
strong cast.
I love Anthony Hopkins in here.
Yeah.
I love Idris Elba. He's awesome in everything. So, I mean, the cast is awesome.
You also have Zachary Levi playing one of Thor's friends.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Captain Marvel. He's Captain Marvel in the DC universe.
Oh yes, he's Shazam.
Sorry.
But
yeah,
which is Captain Marvel? Yes.
Right.
Which is like still to me like so confusing whenever I hear the same names.
Yeah.
Well, and he replaced I forget the actor's name, but did you know that he's not the same? The guy that's playing Fandral in Thor is not the same. He's not Zachary Levi.
That is, it's the guy that was in Once Upon a Time. He played David in that show, but I don't know the actor's name. But yeah, they switched over.
Is it because he jumped ship and went to DC to be Shazam, you think?
Well, no, they brought in Zachary Levi
Okay.
to be in this movie. And then I believe he is also, it's still Zachary Levi in Thor Ragnarok, I believe.
Yes. He gets killed right away, but yes, he is.
Yeah, all of the friends.
Oh man, yeah.
Like
The Warriors 3 got a very quick ending.
all right, let's get some ratings on the film. I'm gonna go real quick. It's definitely higher than what I thought. I think I gave Iron Man 3 a 2.7. That still hurt me, but this one I was pleasantly surprised. Definitely is an OG Marvel flick to its core. I'll definitely always rewatch it. I'm gonna give it a 3.2. Next up, let's go to our guest, Anthony. Let's get your rating on Thor: The Dark World.
I'm going to give this again. It's okay. I will agree. It's just okay. There's nothing egregiously bad, but there's nothing that makes me ever want to revisit this again, other than on like Marvel rewatches or binges or things like that. I'm going to give this, being from Chicago, a 2.3.
Whoa!
Out of 4. But I will say that Endgame, the scenes in Endgame make Thor: The Dark World just a little better.
Hell yeah. Like that, I thought about that too. And I also thought about parts of Endgame where I was like, oh, I wonder when future Thor like took Mjolnir. You know, like when did the hammer like disappear for that Thor? You know, I found myself thinking about when did the mom.
When was he talking to the mom?
Yeah,
Like,
even though it's an alternate universe, so it technically would not happen in this movie. But you still think about that stuff. I thought that was so fun. And that, like, that's something new that you wouldn't have got the first time around.
Right.
Giggler, let's hear it.
That. I just want to just comment how the villain Malachi kind of looks like Ivan Ooze from the Power Ranger movies. Does anyone catch that vibe?
Yeah, he's got the chin.
He's got like the same like face. If you painted him like white, it would be the same person. But maybe it's a little bit less scary. But
Well, him and Oscar Isaac's Apocalypse both look like Ivan Ooze.
yes, exactly. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's a
Gosh,
good
I always
call.
forget that was Oscar Isaac. Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, I think there hasn't been a Marvel movie to date that I haven't rewatched, so I got to give it a 3.0.
Solid. I like that.
That's the standard.
I mean, because
see
you know
if
you're rewatching it all the time.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
got it. So they at least that's good for MCU films. That means they're always breaking that 3 mark.
Oh yeah. Last night, Black Panther was on one channel and the Winter Soldier was on another, and I was just switching back and forth all night, and I was like, "This is the life."
I think
Just sitting there watching cable TV, waiting
Yeah.
for things to scroll across.
Exactly. And I was like, "Why
Nice.
am I not watching this on Disney Plus with no commercials?" But then I just switched back and forth.
we're using like the flashback button. Was there like a flashback button still for cable? Like,
No.
Back
Oh
in
yeah.
like
yeah.
a
Oh,
TV
yeah,
remote,
yeah.
like a back button.
well, yeah,
Yeah,
but it's
like
like I mean,
previous?
I haven't had cable like TV in probably 6 years.
Oh,
Oh,
they
I
still
gotcha.
got it. And they also my not to brag, but my remote has a microphone on it. And I can
Well,
talk to it.
this is the same guy that was written from Redbox, like up until Halloween.
When it comes back, I'll be back at Redbox.
All right, PC Mike. I think we're getting a very different rating. That's why I love you keeping us honest. What is
Well-
Thor: The Dark World for you?
Since Anthony's on, and he's a Chicago guy, I'll do
Yeah.
it as well. 2.1, Sammy Sosa. I was trying to think of Chicago athletes when you said 2.3, and I was like, who am I gonna do? Who am I gonna do? Who am I gonna do?
Nice
I could go
job.
2.5. Derek Lee used to be 2.5 for the Cubs,
there you
but
go.
Well, you've already said your score, so
well,
you know how it
slamming-
is.
Slamming Sammy.
That's like a new low like rating on the show for any movie. I think maybe not. I think
It's
we've got,
pretty. It's pretty low.
It's close. It's
yeah,
close.
I
In
think the
top
lowest
few.
I've personally gotten has been like a 2.5. Like it's like that's as low as I've gotten so
Yeah.
far.
Well,
But
I put it at 2.3 because it's still above average. I was trying to go with the baseline being 2, so anything below 2 would be bad. So 2.3 is still above.
Oh yeah.
that's fair, and,
least better than what I was
especially
rating.
when you're looking at it compared to all the MCU films, that score makes total sense to me. But like, I was just surprised. Like, I would watch this like right along with like Ant-Man. I feel like, but then again, we'll see whenever we watch it.
Maybe I'm a little bitter how you scored Memento, so I took it
Yeah.
out on Thor.
Man, it's funny to see how the spite scores start coming out.
Welcome back to the studio, fellas.
Yeah, that's right. All right, Thor: The Dark World. We appreciate you guys sticking around for the hashtag MCU rewatch. Let us know what you think of the film. Our next film that we'll be covering is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Get us in some fan mail beforehand. You hear this right now. Write us in. Tell us your thoughts on that movie. Give us a rating on the 4.0 scale, and we will feature you during next week's episode.
Did you give your score?
I didn't. No, I did. It was 3.2.
Okay.
Yep. All right, let's move on. If everyone's ready.
I did look up Ant-Man's box office. if you're
Just out of
curious.
curiosity, let's do it. Yeah.
$519 million it made.
And
That's
what was the
below
budget?
Thor. Yeah.
130 to 160.
That's about Thor. Yeah. So that makes sense. I didn't even mention it, but in a couple weeks, Guardians of the Galaxy is next up after Winter Soldier before Age of Ultron. So I don't know how you guys feel about Guardians of the Galaxy, but you can tell that I'm just very excited.
I mean, you have that jacket behind you for
Yeah.
a reason. So.
Yeah, it's my go-to Halloween costume. All right, that's enough of Phase 2 today. We're revisiting some OG Marvel flicks. Let's move into Phase 4.